Hello, welcome to Jason the Old Millennial. My name is Jason, speaking to here in my bedroom in the great state of Kansas. And we're getting close to the Oscars, something I like to talk about a lot every time we get the Oscar season. That is this next Sunday, March 15th. We'll see who wins. So I need to kind of do some Oscar videos, I think, before, and then afterwards talk more about what happened at the Oscars, as I am kind of one of the biggest Oscar nerds you'll ever meet. I have been watching the Oscars since I was 12 or 13 years old, and now I'm 42. So the last 30 years or so, I've been collecting a lot of information and data inside this brain on Oscar history and just the Oscar itself, and talking about it, trying to predict who the winners are and all of that. And I've watched every Best Picture winner and most of the Best Picture nominees throughout history as well. And so gotta give my thoughts on these Oscar nominated movies. And so I'm ranking the Best Picture nominees, which are 10 movies nominated for Best Picture. And like most years, this is a pretty terrible list of movies. Really terrible movies. Again, every year it's like, gosh, they just decide to nominate the worst movies of the year for Best Picture. Whatever movies I hate, that's what gets the nominations. Out of the 10 nominees, I can only recommend one movie. My favorite movie out of this list is a movie that actually made my top 10 favorite movies of the year. It's the only one I'm going to give a recommendation to. The other 9 you can skip. Some are pretty terrible. I would say there's one, number 2, I would say is almost good. It has definitely come close to being a recommendable movie. I can't quite get there, but it does have some really good moments anyways. Besides that, pretty much everything is just utter garbage. The Academy, again, what the Academy thinks is a good movie and what audiences like to watch, the gap is so huge now. It's just humongous. These are movies that nobody cares about, nobody watched except for movie critics and the people that do movie reviews on YouTube, like myself, have watched, forced ourselves to get through. And some of these I know some other people love. I'm just one of those that I don't like these movies. Most of them are very boring to very liberal woke style movies that I just can't get into myself. The Academy is just what they love about movies. I do not love about movies. I love movies that are a little more fun and entertaining style movies. The Academy loves very boring, slow-paced, long movies, very overly dramatic, very depressing movies that really kind of go nowhere, and they love characters that you hate. A lot of the characters on here, I absolutely hated the characters on a lot of these movies. I don't know. I don't get the Academy. What they value is not what I value, and what most audience members don't value, and that's why a lot of these movies did not make very much money in the box office, and that's why nobody watches the Oscars. That's why the Oscar ratings are just terrible every year and just get worse and worse than they used to be. They need to figure out a way to how to get back to nominating movies that people actually like to watch and people actually do watch, that are also well made, and are worthy of an Oscar nomination. It's very hard to get that combination nowadays, unfortunately. Good news is Conan O'Brien is hosting the Oscars, so I will be watching. I'm off work, so I have to get up early the next day, but I'll try to watch the Oscars Sunday night and recap what happens probably the next day or two as well. But I'm excited to see Conan O'Brien again. He was great last year. He's one of the greatest hosts of all time, in my opinion. One of the funniest men of all time. So at least hopefully we can get more than anything, I hope we can get a somewhat entertaining Oscar ceremony. And now we can talk about who I think could win or hope will win as well. But let's get through these Best Picture nominees and my ranking of them. Basically, it's number 10 to number 1 is basically most boring to least boring. That's kind of how it went. When I was watching, I would go, man, these are just so boring movies. So hard to get through. So it kind of goes through. There's a movie I watch and I go, wow, this movie's so terrible. This has got to be the worst. And I'll see another movie and go, nope, it gets worse. It gets worse. There's even worse movies. But number 10, number 9, I'm just going to say right now, are the 2 foreign films, 2 non-English speaking films. Number 10, I put The Secret Agent. Number 9, I put Sentimental Value. I hate that they put foreign films in this Best Picture nominees. And it's been this huge trend the last, I don't know, 5 years or so. Every year, now that we got 10 nominations, we have to put 2 foreign films in there for some reason. I don't know why the Academy thinks that we need to award foreign films in this category. I just don't get it. This is an American institution, isn't it? This is started in America. This was started, for Americans. This is mostly, I suppose everybody watches the Academy Awards maybe, but other countries have their own award show. They should have their own award show. And if The Secret Agent, which is a Brazilian movie, Brazil, do your own award show. Give Secret Agent the Best Picture. We even have a whole category of Best Foreign Film, or Best International Film, I think it's called now. So give The Secret Agent Sentimental Value. Yeah, put those in that category. We don't need it in the Best Picture category. It's just stupid, and they're always the worst movies. Every year, I put the international films, the non-English speaking films, last. I don't care for foreign films. I don't watch foreign films. I watch American films. I'm an American. I speak English. I only want English speaking films, or I only want to watch the English speaking films. And I guess I shouldn't get so mad, except that because they're nominated for Best Picture, I force myself to watch these movies against my will, and I dread it every freaking year. I think that should be one. If you want the Oscar ceremony, if you want people to watch the Oscar ceremony, stop nominating foreign films in these Best Picture categories. People want to watch the Oscars to watch the films that they watch, the films that they like and love, win Oscars. They don't want to see Secret Agent or Sentimental Value. If I went down to Wichita, Kansas, and I picked out 1,000 people, random 1,000 people, and I said, have you seen The Secret Agent? Have you seen Sentimental Value? I would almost say that 100% of them, the majority of Americans have not seen The Secret Agent or Sentimental Value. That's just the case. I mean, how many people want to sit through a 2 hour and 40-minute movie in Portuguese? I don't know. Nobody I know wants to do that. And me, I'm an above average probably moviegoer and movie reviewer and all this. I see a lot of movies. I see a lot of obscure movies maybe most people don't see. But for me, this is just too obscure for my taste anyways. So that's just my little rant on foreign films. Every year, we get movies. There's a Japanese movie called Drive My Car. It's a 3-hour Japanese movie that gets in there. I'm trying to think, what were the movies last year? I can't remember, but every year, and the whole purpose, we used to have 5 Oscar-nominated movies. These are the 5 best movies of the year. This is the movie that we believe have achieved, great filmmaking and all this. And there usually always be 5 English-speaking movies. Very rarely you'd see a non-English speaking movie in those categories. We then said, hey, we need to expand to 10 Oscar-nominated movies, mostly because after 2008, The Dark Knight, everybody thought it should have been nominated for Best Picture. It made a ton of money. It was very well received critically, and it couldn't get in there because there's only 5 nominations. So they said, let's expand to 10. We'll get, then we can put some actual blockbuster movies that people actually like, maybe in the 10, and maybe people actually will care about the Oscars again. Guess what we did? Nope. We still to say we put one blockbuster in there. This year, F1 is kind of that's the one blockbuster movie that made it in. Top Gun Maverick made it in some years ago. Barbie made it in, it was a little bit ago. It's we do allow one blockbuster movie that people actually watch in there. And then we expanded to 10 to put 2 non-English speaking movies in there. And I don't think that was why we thought we should have went to 10. That wasn't the purpose of making 10, is to put 2 foreign films in there. I think it was to put more movies that people actually care about. Anyway, so that's why number 10, The Secret Agent. So that's my 10th, the worst movie of this bunch for me. Again, it is a long movie. It might be the longest movie out of all of them. 2 hours and 40 minutes, I swear, was how long it was. It was so long, but not only was it long, it was boring. It was so boring, and it was so slow moving. And there's so many scenes where people are just sitting around talking, nothing's happening. to be honest, of course, I checked out of this movie so quickly. I didn't really pay attention to what was going on. I don't know what's going on. It's like there's a guy. The Brazilian government's terrible because this is a kind of a period piece. I don't know what, I can't remember what years it was, but it might have been like the 80s or something. Who knows? 70s. Might have been like the 70s. But the Brazilian government was an evil dictatorship, of course, like a lot of countries are, and suppressing freedoms and all this. And this guy was, I think, a professor or something like that. Or a reporter or journalist or something like that. He's like on the run from the government, who's trying to kill him. And anyways, and that's the movie. He's just kind of trying to hide out from the government or something like that. It meets a whole bunch of different people and blah 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 blah. And yeah, I couldn't figure out what was going on most of the time. Again, it's in Portuguese, whatever. It's Brazil, so it's Portuguese. So you have to read English subtitles, and I cannot connect with the movie when it's not in English. That's just me. I cannot connect with it. If I don't understand what they're saying, I just can't connect. So I didn't connect with the movie at all. It was a chore to get through. Not really that happy of an ending. Nothing exciting really happens. Like I remember one person getting shot maybe during the whole movie. Yeah, it was utterly just slow moving, boring, didn't know what was going on kind of movie. So that's why number 10, The Secret Agent. Number 9, we got Sentimental Value. This is a Swedish film, but it does have some actors that we actually know, 2 of them anyways. Stellan Skarsgård, whatever his name is, playing the kind of the father figure here. And Elle Fanning shows up, and it was nice when Elle Fanning showed up because they had to speak English because Elle Fanning's not Swedish. So the thing that better about this movie than the last movie was that this actually had some English in it. When Elle Fanning was speaking English, it was really nice. Like, all right, I can understand what's going on now in the scene and kind of connect with the characters. But throughout is mostly Swedish language, whatever. And this is just a very dramatic family drama movie where Stellan Skarsgård is a famous filmmaker in Sweden, and he has 2 daughters. They hate him because he abandoned them when he divorced the mom, I think, and abandoned them or something. Or I know the mom committed suicide at one point, but he abandons them or something like that. They resent him for that. But he comes back. One of them is an actress. The other one's just a mother, wife and a mother. And he comes back to the one daughter who's an actress and says, I think he hadn't made a movie in a long time. So he's like, I wrote a movie. I want you to play the lead. It's kind of based on true stuff that happened with his mom. She doesn't want anything to do with it. She's like, I don't want anything to do with you. I hate you kind of thing. Elle Fanning comes into the picture. She really likes his movie making. So he kind of puts her in there because she's like a fan of his and she's an actress. So even though she's like not good enough really for the role, he puts her in there, Elle Fanning. Anyway, that's how she comes into the role. Anyways, and you just get all this family drama. Again, very boring movie. Not as long as Secret Agent. It wasn't too terribly long. But again, I struggled just kind of connecting with the movie and following along what was going on most of the time. There's one pretty good scene where the two sisters kind of in a room talk about the trauma of, the growing up and how they needed each other to get through the bad times growing up. That was actually a very good scene, very emotional. Definitely the best scene out of the movie, I think, that got the most emotions out of me. The acting overall is pretty good, and all that. I just, again, don't care for the movies that don't speak English, and it was boring. But anyways, number 9, Sentimental Value. Number 8, I have Train Dreams. This is a movie on Netflix that you can watch. Joel Edgerton plays a logger. He goes out in the Pacific Northwest or something like that, somewhere, and he cuts down trees, and they're building railroads for the train system. And of course, that's why it's called Train Dreams, I guess. He falls in love with this girl. They have a kid, and then tragedy happens to the family, basically, and he's living with that tragedy for the rest of the movie. So again, very sad, very depressing movie. Also just very boring, very slow moving. To me, when I first saw this movie, I was like, oh, this has got to be the worst movie. And then I saw the other 2, and I was like, Train Dreams is so bad, and yet it's number 8 because of how bad the other 2 movies are, in my opinion, like, as far as watching. Edgerton, he's like an okay actor. I've never been a huge Joel Edgerton fan. The Academy seems to love him. Seems like he's involved a lot with Academy style. It seems like critics really like him. He didn't get nominated for the movie, but Um, he plays these. It seems like every time I see him in a role, he plays a very quiet character that hardly talks, is very boring and uninteresting. And that seems to be the kind of roles that Egerton gets. And so I don't get the big deal about Joel Egerton. It seems like he's always very boring in the movie roles I see him in, for the most part. Not everything, but I see him in so many movies. I'm like, he's so boring and uninteresting as a character. Anyways, and that's the way this movie is. It's just a very boring, slow-moving movie with lots of traumatic drama. Anyways, so not for me. This is at number 8. Like I said, Secret Agent Cinema Value, I give like half a star. Train Dreams, I'd give like 1 star, maybe 2. Number 7 is Marty Supreme. This might be a surprise. I hear a lot of people love this movie. It's some of their favorite movies of the year. I was kind of interested in it. I like Timothée Chalamet for the most part. I think he's a really good actor. Didn't know quite what this movie's about, except that I heard that about ping pong. I love ping pong, love playing ping pong, love watching people play ping pong. So I was kind of interested in that element of it. And then I watched the movie, and I absolutely hated the movie. I thought it's just a weird movie. It's somewhat based on a true character that was an American ping pong player back in the day when ping pong was still not a big sport, but it was starting to become, I guess, a bigger sport maybe. And all that. I don't know if it was the Olympic sport yet or whatever, but this real guy that's based off of won a bunch of American like ping pong championships or table tennis championships and all this. Anyways, and that's kind of what the Timothée Chalamet character is based on. And he wants to get to Japan because there's some kind of big ping pong tournament there, but he burns about every bridge he can burn on the way there. He backstabs, lies, cheats everybody he comes in contact with. He is one of the worst characters I've seen in a movie. One of the most hated characters I've ever had watched a movie. I cannot like a movie if I hate the main character and he doesn't have any kind of redemption arc. Not really. At the very end, they almost kind of have a redemption thing for him, but not really. He's just a huge jerk and so unlikable. Timothée Chalamet, and I don't think it's a great Timothée Chalamet performance. He's nominated for Best Actor and he's won a bunch of other awards. To me, he was way better last year in Unknown, whatever, the Bob Dylan picture, which should have won Best Picture, should have won Best Actor for Timothée Chalamet. He's getting another chance to win Best Actor this time, maybe for this movie, for a much worse, less movie than Complete Unknown. And yeah, I don't know. I don't get what people love about this performance or about this movie. It just drags on and on. And again, everybody he meets, even people that are very nice to him, who help him out, he eventually lies and backstabs and cheats, and it's like, what a scumbag, what a dirtbag of a character. And he has this moment at the end where he finally replays this Japanese guy who beats him earlier in the movie in ping pong, and it's like maybe the most exciting part of the movie because they're like, oh my gosh, is he gonna get revenge and beat this Japanese guy? But at the end, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't mean anything if he beats him, just his own pride, I guess. And the movie is just one bad thing after another. He gets himself into a bad situation, even like almost arrested a couple times, and has to escape the police. So he's a criminal basically as well as everything else. And he's sleeping with different women, which I don't get. Like, who wants to sleep with... Timothée Chalamet is just a skinny guy. I don't know. I don't see him such a ladies' man, but he gets a lot of women in this movie. I don't find him even that charismatic or likable. He's good at lying and talking himself into situations or talking people into helping him or giving him money or whatever it is. He's a good talker, I guess, but yeah, he's just terrible. Anyways, and I couldn't believe how bad I thought this movie was. And again, it's at number 7 because just how bad the other movies are. It's above Train Dreams only because it's not as boring as Train Dreams. It's slightly more stuff happens, slightly more exciting stuff happens in the movie. But yet, I absolutely hate everything about this movie, to be honest, and don't get what the love is for it. So many weird things happen during this movie, and it keeps going and keeps going. You're just like, what is the purpose of it all? Where are we going with it? Anyways, so number 7, Marty Supreme. Number 6, I have Bugonia, probably the weirdest movie title of all of these, and one of my least favorite directors here, which I'm forgetting the name. He has a Greek name, I think. He makes things like, was it Poor Things, The Favorite, The Lobster. His movies are so weird. He's Lagamos, I think his name is the name of the director. So anytime he comes out with a movie, I know I'm going to hate it. He's just a weird director, and the movies are just so weird, and I don't like weird movies. This is maybe the least weird of the movies I've seen, though, so it's actually probably one of his better movies. Here we got Emma Stone, we got Chris Plemons, I think his name is Jesse Plemons. Sorry, Jesse Plemons in here, and Jesse Plemons is kind of this loser, stupid hillbilly who, him and his cousin who's autistic, kidnap Emma Stone, who's the head of this pharmaceutical company, because he believes that she's an alien. He has this whole conspiracy about there's these aliens called the Andromedons or something like that are coming to destroy Earth or something like that. And so he kidnaps her, shaves her head off, and puts like a bunch of stuff on her, and basically says, I want you to, get me with your emperor, and I want to negotiate, that they won't come destroy Earth or something like that. Which, why would we want this guy of anybody speaking on the behalf of human beings? Makes absolutely no sense. But anyway, so he kidnaps her, he tortures her a little bit. She tries to outsmart him, which is not too hard because they're a bunch of idiots. No offense to the autistic guy, he's just autistic, but Jesse Plemons' guy is just an idiot. And so she is able to almost talk her way out of escaping a couple times. But yeah, there's just a lot of scenes of them just Emma Stone tied up, them trying to get information about her saying, I'm not an alien, them saying, I know you're an alien, and then some fight, or she gets tortured, gets hit, or some fight happens, she tries to escape throughout the movie. Anyways, yeah, just a very weird movie, very weird premise. I don't even get why he thinks she's an alien. I must have missed why that happens. There's some side stories that I won't even talk about that doesn't have anything to do with anything. It's like, why are we having this side story all of a sudden? And it's just the dialogue, just nonsense. I don't know. I'm just watching it going, this is the best we can do, is this movie for Best Picture? It's just like, I don't care about any of this or what's going on here. It's not interesting to me. I thought Plemons, I mean, he looked like he lost weight, and he's doing, I guess, a good job. It's a weird character. He just always looks slimy and gross. His hair is always just a mess. His facial hair is a mess. I don't know. He's just a mess of a character all the time. Emma Stone, I like Emma Stone. Big fan of hers. She's in all of these Lagos movies, like I said, The Favorite and Poor Things. So they must have a big. She must really like working for Lagos and doing these really weird movies. She's fine. She got nominated for Best Actress. I think this is one of my least favorite performances from her, though. I don't think it's all that great. She does as best I guess she can in a weird situation, and and all this. Now, the reason why it's number 6 on the list is because the last 20 minutes of the movie is actually kind of interesting. That's when the interesting things happen in the last 20 minutes, where I'm like, okay, so it's going somewhere. We're getting somewhere, and it actually has a very interesting twist that I kind of saw coming, but I still thought it was a cool twist to the whole movie and story. And the ending it's not a happy ending, but yet it was intriguing. It was interesting enough that I go, oh, at least it's a stupid movie, but at least it had a kind of an interesting ending to it that made me go, okay, that was something. Wasn't expecting to go there, but all right, okay, there we go. Anyways, I won't spoil what it is, but it's pretty crazy what happens at the end of this movie. Anyways, but yeah, so number 6, Bugonia. All right, number 5, we got One Battle After Another. Again, Bugonia, I'd give it 1 star movie. One Battle After Another. This was in my top 10 worst movies of the year, and yet it's number 5 on this list. That's how bad these movies are. This is in the top 5, and I absolutely hate this movie, and it was one of the worst movies I saw all year. Now, saying that, the other 5 movies I didn't see when I made my top, 10 worst movies of the year, they would all be my worst movies, but that's every year the Best Picture nominees are always in my worst movies of the year. So I thought, I don't want to watch these until after I make my list, because I don't want my list just be full of these dumb Best Picture nominees that nobody cares about. But anyways, One After Another, more well liked. I'm just one of the few that I just really didn't like this movie. Probably won Best Picture, or won a couple of different Oscars. Nominated for quite a bit of Oscars. It's kind of one of the favorites. Paul Thomas Anderson. I'm not a big fan of Paul Thomas Anderson. Most of the movies, I don't know, I just never cared for his style, I guess. And the movies are always depressing and just terrible endings, and just I never feel good at the end of them. One bad after another is the thing about this movie is it's, again, I absolutely hate these characters. Kind of like Marty Supreme, these are such terrible characters. They're these liberal terrorist activists who rob banks. They go to military places where they're holding like illegal immigrants, and they free the illegal immigrants, and doing very illegal things, very criminal organization, blowing things up, all this stuff. And they're the good guys, and I'm like, these are terrible people. I don't support terrorism. I can't like these characters. They should be the villains, except for Sean Penn, who plays like the main like military guy throughout it. Is a horrible character. He's racist. He's gross. He's just a really gross character. I absolutely hated Sean Penn's character. And he probably won the Best Supporting Actor Oscar, which is like, we don't need another Sean Penn Oscar. He's already got 2, but he's kind of the favorite right now. Playing, I didn't think it was a good performance either. It was a nothing performance, just a one-note performance. But I've talked about this movie on my channel already, yeah. Absolutely hate the characters. Absolutely hate what goes on. It's at number 5 only because it's not that boring. It's actually, stuff is happening. I was actually kind of, able to watch it without being bored. So that's why it's at number 5. The other movies, just way more boring. Not a lot happens. This one, a lot of stuff is happening, at least. Leo DiCaprio, I like. He's okay in this movie. De Toro's doesn't do much, I don't think. Anyways, Sean Penn, like I said, I hated. Horrible kind of ending. I mean, it's somewhat of a happy ending, I guess. Maybe that's why I have it number 5. It wasn't a total terrible ending. It's somewhat more happy, I guess, at the end in some ways. But still, this is a movie it's for the liberal Academy Award members that hate Trump, that hate ICE. They're going to love this movie. I hated it. Anyway, that's number 5, one bad after another. Number 4, we got Frankenstein. This is a movie that people seem to really love. I wasn't at, like, one bad after another is a 1-star movie. Frankenstein, I'm giving 2 stars. I'm giving it a little bit better. Again, it's Frankenstein. I don't care about Frankenstein. I've seen the original, it was a big thing for the time. It's a popular book. I didn't care for the old version back in the 30s. I don't care about the new version as much. Why it's at number 4, though, is because it is a beautiful made movie, incredibly shot movie. Everything technically is amazing, which, no surprise, Guillermo del Toro is so good at making good-looking movies. He's a substance over, or that's not right. He's more visual over substance or something like that. I'm not a big fan of his storytelling, like Shape of Water, I hated. Hellboy 2, I really like that movie. That's like my favorite Guillermo del Pinocchio, I hated Pinocchio. It was one of my worst. Anyways, I usually do not like Guillermo del Toro's style of movies. I think as a storyteller, I think he's terrible. But visually, his movies are amazing. Like, they look so good. He has that down packed. It's kind of like Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder movies are terrible, but they look good because he's good at he's good at that part of it. Anyways, so I'd say this movie, again, very boring. It's the Frankenstein story, but it makes a lot of changes. They try to make a love triangle with Frankenstein and this other girl that I think Victor Frankenstein kind of likes. I call Frankenstein the Frankenstein's monster. Kind of, so there's no love story between Frankenstein's monster and this girl, I think, in the original material, I'm pretty sure. So I don't know. That's something. Guillermo del Toro loves to make monsters fall in love with human women. That's his like fetish thing that he loves to do anyway. So, and we get that here in Frankenstein a little bit. Nothing really big happens, but we can tell there's kind of like this love story between the two in a sense. So I mean, it's a new modern look at an old story, Frankenstein. But again, I'm like, we've done Frankenstein already. I don't need another Frankenstein. Never thought I'd care for this. But the art direction is very good. I love the house, the mansion, the library, amazing. There are some really nice stuff like that where I'm like, okay, I love the art direction here. Costuming, really great stuff. Makeup work, really great stuff. He's going to win at least 3 Oscars for all those technical awards. Cinematography, great. I mean, so there's a lot of great stuff about this movie that, as far as visually, I like it. Story-wise, don't need another Frankenstein. in my opinion. I do like one story moment I like is that most of the movie is through Victor Frankenstein's point of view of what happened and all this, and he's a very unlikable character too. He keeps trying to kill the monster who's not a bad person. But then there's a point where the Frankenstein monster kind of comes into the story to the modern, because he's telling, the whole movie is Victor Frankenstein's telling the story to this like captain of this boat, and then the Frankenstein monster shows up, and then he's like, oh, let me tell you my side of the story. And so then we get his side of the story. I thought that was actually kind of cool. I thought that was a nice element. Like, oh, okay. Now we're going to kind of see everything through his eyes and what happened. And we get some more backstory about how he got from there to... Anyway, so there's some interesting moments like that. But overall, 2 stars. Didn't care for it that much. Number 3, we have F1. This is like the one kind of blockbuster movie. Doesn't feel like it really belongs in here amongst all these like really boring dramatic movies. This one's, you know, got more action in it. There's a lot of F1 racing and all that. And you got a big superstar in Brad Pitt in the lead as well. I still do not care about this movie at all. I still give this like 2 stars, mostly because I don't care about racing at all. This is one of those things where it's going to be very hard to get me to care about a movie about car racing. And we've already had a movie exactly like this back in the 2000s. There was a movie called, I think, Driving, or something about driving, and it stars Sylvester Stallone. I saw it in the movie theater, and I didn't think that was a very good movie either. But it's the same plot. Sylvester Stallone's like an old, used to be really good race car driver who's kind of is this company takes him on, and so he thinks, oh, I'm getting a second chance at race car driving, but they really want him to mentor this young driver who's very talented, but he's immature and stuff like that. And so reluctantly kind of mentors this younger driver and helps him become better and all that. It's like the same plot here with Brad Pitt. He comes into this F1 company. He's old, kind of compared to everybody. And there's this new hotshot racer that's very immature. And he doesn't really want to mentor him, but he kind of mentors him a little bit and helps him become a better racer. Anyway, so it's like, we already had the story already. It's like the same story I've already seen. And again, I was thinking, the only movies I like about race car driving, I think, are Talladega Nights, The Ballad of Ricky Bobby, and the Pixar movie Cars is the only 2 I can think of top of my mind that have to do with race car driving that I like. Besides that, any movie that has to do with race car driving is boring. Race car driving is a boring sport. Never in my life do I watch it or would ever watch it or care about it. And so it's like, and so there's so many racing scenes where I'm watching it going, I don't care about this. It's not interesting. Even though it's like, oh, look at the cool shots. It's supposed to be like groundbreaking. I'm like, I don't care. It's a boring sport. And all that. And yeah, it's just nothing interesting in this movie, really, story-wise. You know, it's about what you think it's going to be. Pretty predictable. And the other thing is, I don't even understand what's going on when they're racing, because throughout the whole movie, it's like they're losing. They're always losing. It's like this company, this team that Brad Pitt joins is not very good. And Harvey Bardem's also in here, who I like, and Rebecca Ferguson. Has some good actors and actresses here, but throughout the whole movie, they're like losing. And I'm like, gosh, these guys, it's weird. It's like, I thought Brad Pitt was supposed to be good. It seems like he's always losing. And then at the very end, they have this final race, and they kind of win the race, and they're like, oh, they won. And I'm like, they did? I thought they were losing the whole movie, and now they won this whole... it doesn't make any sense to me. Anyways, F1, number 3 on the list. It's number 3. It's top 3 best movie that was nominated for Best Picture, and I still give it 2 stars. I really didn't like the movie. All right, so number 2. This is where I almost like this movie, very close, and that's Hamnet, which might surprise people because I've talked to some people about Hamnet. Like, I watched the first 15 minutes, and I thought it was so boring. I thought, oh my gosh, it's going to be a terrible movie. So I quit after about 15 minutes, and about a month later, I came back and finally finished the movie. I was like, well, I need to finish this movie. I figured this would be my least favorite movie just by the first 15 minutes. I thought, oh, this is going to be the worst movie. I was so pleasantly surprised that this movie was way better than a lot of the other movies on this list. And I was not expecting that because you have Chloe Chow, whatever, directing here. She directed one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life, Nomadland, which won Best Picture back in 2020. And it is one of the most boring, slow-moving movies I've ever seen in my life. And so I was like, I don't care for her style at all. I think she's a terrible director and all this. And so I knew she directed this, and I knew the subject matter. I was like, oh gosh, it's Shakespearean. You know, it's an old, you know, it's about Shakespeare and all this, which I don't mind Shakespeare. I like some Shakespeare, but I don't know if I want to watch a movie about Shakespeare necessarily. And I'm watching it, and yeah, the first part of this movie is just, the first half of this movie, I'd say, is very boring, very slow moving. Everything I hate about Chloe Zhao as a director. It's all about Shakespeare. It's weird. He meets this girl that spends a lot of time in the woods, and she's kind of paganism. There's this weird paganism about her. She's a forest person. In fact, they call her like a forest witch. And at first, I'm like, is she a human being or is she a forest witch? I was so confused. And then he like wanted to marry her, and I was like, why? They just barely know each other, and all of a sudden it's like they're getting married. I'm like, what? Like, what? Did I miss something? And the one family doesn't want. Shakespeare's like a nobody at this time. He's not famous yet, so they're like, we don't want her marrying this nobody. All this, and they get married, and they have a bunch of kids. And so we kind of fast forward, and then they have one kid named Hamnet, and that's where the movie comes from. And there's actually this really nice moment, and he's gone a lot because he goes to London to write his plays. And there's a moment where there's a plague killing people, and that's like the big thing. And there's the Hamnet, the one of the son. He has a sister who's very sick, I think, with the plague, and she's dying. And so he kind of prays to take her place, basically. And it kind of happens where he eventually, this spoilers, but this is kind of the main part of the movie, is that Hamnet dies of the plague and his sister survives. So it's almost like this nice, sweet moment where it's like almost supernatural, where it's like he takes his sister's place because he's such a nice kid. I really like Hamnet. Hamnet was a great kid. And it's like he sacrificed his own life to save his sister. That seemed like kind of what you're supposed to get out of it. So I was like, oh, that's actually nice and sweet. But of course, they're devastated. You know, William Shakespeare is devastated. His son's dead. And Jessie Buckley plays his wife, I forget her name, is also devastated, of course, and they're having a hard time. Of course, marriage is kind of having some struggles, you know, with dealing with all the trauma. Again, just more and more trauma, very depressing trauma. And so they're having conversations about getting through this trauma. So that's kind of what the movie seems to be about for the most part. And at this time, he writes a new play called Hamlet, which becomes his most popular play of all time, and all that. And so here's where the movie gets really good. And I'll say Jessie Buckley, great performance. She's going to win the Oscar for Best Actress. Totally deserving. I'm all for that. She did such a great job in this movie. And there's this moment where he writes Hamlet, and she comes to the Globe Theater to watch Hamlet for the first premiere of Hamlet. And even William Shakespeare plays like the father's ghost in it. And there's this great moments like where he's playing Hamlet's ghost, and she's watching this, and she realizes that this is Hamlet's he wrote this, you know, kind of about Hamnet, the son. And so once she kind of gets that, she's like, oh my gosh, like first she's kind of mad. It's weird. She almost wants to walk out, but then as she's watching it, she gets so engrossed into this play, and she's like in the front row, and just her facial expressions are so good, the emotions are so good. And like the scene between William Shakespeare where he has to say goodbye to Hamlet, where he's playing Hamlet's dad who's dead, and he has to say goodbye. It's actually a very emotional scene where I'm like, wow, this is like, because almost like him, he never got to say goodbye to his son Hamnet, who died in real life, but here he's saying goodbye to Hamlet in this play, and so it kind of brings up these emotions of his son. Really good stuff there. And then even the play, you're watching kind of parts of this Hamlet play, and it's actually quite good. And I'm like, wow, this is pretty good. We're watching a play within a movie kind of thing. And then the very end, if you don't know Hamlet like dies at the end. And so there's scene where Hamlet dies, and the mother, Jessie Buckley's in the front row, just so emotional. And the scene where he kind of reaches out, and all the audience members reach out and touch Hamlet before he dies. Actually very emotionally powerful scene. The whole sequence at the end with the Hamlet stage play with the mother there, really good stuff. I actually was very emotionally moved by it, and I was like, gosh, I almost want to give this a recommend. I'd give it 2.5 stars, which is just slightly not recommend. And that's only because the first half is so boring and slow moving that I just can't quite see myself watching it again. I almost say, just watch the last 30 minutes of this movie. It's actually really good. This last 30, 20 minutes of the movie, actually really good stuff. Some of the best stuff I've seen all year and out of all these movies. Because it actually made me feel something. 10 through 3, I felt nothing inside. Like no emotions really. Except, like I said, Sentimental Value had one kind of emotional scene I thought was good. But for the most part, none of these movies made me feel anything. Didn't laugh, didn't, feel emotionally like crying. I don't know, nothing. And then Hamnet, I was like watching this and I was like, I'm actually kind of emotionally moved by this. And I actually kind of really love this last sequence. It's kind of a beautiful written sequence about getting over the loss of a child. And that's kind of how it ends. Basically, this helps her and Shakespeare kind of get over this trauma and this loss of their son dying. Anyways, it's wonderfully done. So I give Chloe Zhao some credit there. She did a really good job at that last part of the movie. I just wish the other part of the movie was interesting enough for me to, it might be number one on my list if the first half was somewhat more interesting, but give her credit. She made me feel something. So Hamnet, number 2 on the list, which leaves obviously number 1, Sinners. This was obviously the best movie of this group. It's in my top 10 favorite movies of the year. And it's not really my type of movie either. It deals with vampires. It's horror-ish because the vampires killing people. I'm not really into vampire style movies, but yeah, I thought this was so well done. And Coogler, I think it's Ryan Coogler. Coogler, I think is one of the best directors working today. Obviously, I love Creed. Black Panther was a pretty good movie. He is such a good director. And this movie is so well made, so well shot. I love the cinematography. The songs that are in it are really well done. The acting's really good. I really like Michael B. Jordan. He's one of my favorite actors today. Hopefully he'll win Best Actor. I'm really hoping he beats Timothée Chalamet for Best Actor. That would be awesome. He deserves it because he was so good in Creed and Black Panther, and he's good in this movie. So hopefully, and he's playing twins here, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I think the performances are all really good here. I love the Irish vampire, the main villain. I thought was a great villainous character. And I love the setup. They just set up, they're making this juke joint with blues music and, just starting the business. These twin brothers just starting this business in the Deep South. There's a lot of racism, of course. And lots of dramatic sequences and stuff like that going on. And then we introduce vampires out of nowhere. It's like, oh, we got enough to deal with. Now we got to deal with killing vampires. And I thought that was great when they started getting introduced to the storyline. And even towards the end, they finally they build a pretty good army of vampires, actually, from all the people they've turned into vampires, whatever. And they attack the juke joint of the people that are still alive and haven't gotten turned yet. And it's a pretty cool action sequence overall. It was very thrilling, really, exciting, intense. I thought it was great. I loved the overall tenseness of the last sequences, and in the ending was somewhat surprising. And there's some good emotional moments as well. I don't know. Overall, it's not my kind of movie, but it was so well made that I still really enjoyed it. Give it 3.5 stars out of 5 personally. Yeah, so really would love to see this one Best Picture over one battle after another. We will see anyway. So that's my ranking of the 10 movies nominated for Best Picture. Tell me what do you think? What was your favorite movie, or how many of these have you seen yourself? I'd love to see how many people have seen these movies. It was a bit of a chore to get through myself. Like I said, I hated most of them. But besides that, thanks so much for watching this. Thank you so much for liking the video. And thank you to all my subscribers for supporting the channel. I appreciate y'all. I hope you have a good day.